What is the punishment we give our kids? How do we go about it? And why? Pretty much.
Hi, my name is Jen,
And my name is Christian, and
and
this
this
is
is Love
Love
a
a
Little
Little Podcast.
Podcast. Welcome
Woo!
back to episode 5. Can you guys
Episode
believe this is
cinco
episode 5? That is so
already.
crazy.
Time's flying.
Yeah,
I feel like we just started. Well, we did just kind of start it, but since we're dropping one every week, that's technically 5 weeks already.
yeah.
4 weeks in a month, so that's a month in a week.
Yeah, that's pretty
Episode 5, you guys. So yeah, if you guys are new, make sure you guys subscribe, turn on your post notifications, hit the like button because it's gonna be good. And don't forget to drop comments during the video, after the video, so we can talk with you guys and answer any questions you may have. So let's get right to it. Today is episode 5, and what will we be talking about today, Ben?
All right, so today we're going to be talking about our parenting strategies.
Parenting
What it
strategies.
is that we do, for us that works for us and our kids.
Mhm.
And I feel like um, we always get questions in regards to like how we do certain things or how the kids are a certain way. So Christian thought that it would be a great topic to talk about today.
Yep.
So that's what we're gonna get started with. You want to get started or?
So yeah, I think we're gonna talk everything, like parenting strategies, what we do in our household, what works for us, and what we have used. This is not in no way, shape, or form the correct way and only way, but this is how we do things at our house and stuff like that with our kids. All right. So here we go. So I think first one we're gonna start with that we do get a lot of questions about is how do our kids speak both English and Spanish very well? Well, Mateo's barely talking, but Camila. So how does Camila speak English and Spanish very well? So let me start off with me. My parents are from Mexico. In our house we spoke nothing but Spanish. My dad always told me like, en esta casa se habla español. Like you are not gonna speak English in this household. Nothing against English, just that he knew that we were gonna learn English on our own because in school and movies and things like that, we were gonna pick up English, but Spanish had to be taught at home, and that's how we were gonna learn it. So yeah, we got that. I got that from my dad. Um, he said only Spanish in the house because obviously my parents didn't really understand English at the time. Well, and yeah, so that's what we use in our household as well. To Camila and Mateo, we strictly speak to them in Spanish. Um, Between me and Jen in the house, we talk to each other in English, but everything to the kids is Spanish. When it comes to things that they watch on TV, we translate it to Spanish. We sometimes do leave it in English, but we try to, if it does have the option to put it in Spanish, we put it in Spanish. And the same way, like sometimes Camila throws English words, or even me, sometimes I mix it up and throw English words at her, like while I'm talking to her, but we correct ourselves. We're like, no, 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 only Spanish in the house. And reason being, because that's how I was raised and it worked well for me. Camila learned English in school, learned English just with being with her cousins and things like that. So yeah, that's how it worked for us. For Camila, speaking both languages very well, she can conversate with you fully in English and fully in Spanish. And I think it's very. I think this more applies to obviously people that speak Spanish at home because sometimes, I mean, that are Spanish speakers because sometimes they're Spanish speakers, but they don't speak it to their kids and they don't ever learn it because it just wasn't taught. And I think it's important because nowadays, it's very important to learn to know two languages. I mean, multiple, but it's very much used, especially out in the work world and just in life in general. So, yeah, that's how we did it, and that's what worked for us, and what we're gonna keep doing with Mateo. Um, and yeah, so that's how Camila knows both English and Spanish very well. That's the strategy that we used, both English and Spanish very well,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep. Yeah, so my household as well, my parents both speak Spanish. My dad actually speaks English as well, but obviously, with the heavy accent and stuff, but he speaks it and understands it very well. But he still always spoke to us in Spanish. But before Camila was born, I told Christian, like, I want her to really, like, speak Spanish, to learn the language. And not only because, one, it's our, um, background, our language, but because, later on in the future, when 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 she goes to, look for a job, or her career, whatever it may be, if there's somebody who speaks English and Spanish, and then there's her who only speaks one language, they're gonna, win her in that way. So I feel it's very important, especially living here in the US, where, there's so many languages. And when you're looking for a job, most of the jobs require you to speak Spanish.
A lot of.
So
Mhm.
plus, I really love the, like, my Spanish language and stuff like that. So I'm like, I really want my kids to be able to communicate, like, with their grandparents and stuff like that. Like, I don't want my parents or Christian's parents to be kind of playing the guessing game or stuff like that with them. So that's something that we decided, prior to our having our kids, was that we were gonna teach them English. And like Christian mentioned, I have all their shows. Like, if Spanish is available, all their shows, their settings, like, on all the, like, streaming platforms are in Spanish. Unless, like, that a certain movie or something doesn't have Spanish, then, obviously we allow them to watch English, because, they're gonna pick up the English, like, quickly, just by listening to us, listening to their little cousins and stuff like that. And that's how
In
Camila, like,
school.
picked
Hmm.
up English. She picked it up so quick, which I was actually in shock, because since we only spoke to her in Spanish, I thought she was going to have, like, a little bit of a harder time, but no, she picked it up super quick. And, I have, like, Spanish books for her. That's one thing as well, that I would always read to her in Spanish. And then I kind of have her, like, repeat the Spanish words as I'm reading to them. And, like, I could say she kind of knows how to read in Spanish already. She's
Hmm.
6 years old, and she knows how to read in English, and she knows how to read in Spanish. The Spanish, obviously, not 100%, because a lot of the words are very,
Complicated.
um, some of them are very complicated and different, but she always asks me, Mommy, how do you say this? Mommy, this. And, like, she loves to read, and she also, like, she writes me little notes in Spanish and stuff like that. So
Te amo, mami, or like.
yeah, so
Hmm.
that's honestly how we do it for them too. But yeah, that's pretty much how we get them to, speak Spanish. And Mateo as well, the same thing with goes for him. We only speak to them in Spanish. And of course, Camila is used to speaking English in school. So sometimes she comes home and, she tries to speak to us in English, and we tell her, like, no, mami, tienes que hablar en español. Or I'll be like, no te entiendo, yo no hablo inglés.
Hmm.
And then she already knows, and she just, like, says it in Spanish. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. I think it's really important, whether it's Spanish or French or Russian, whatever you want to teach your kids. I think it's very, very important to teach them at least two, like, a different language than English. And also, we actually just tried or starting to, like, teach them Mandarin, just because I feel it's funny, because we're talking about, like, the different like the number one language in the world, and it's actually, like, Mandarin Chinese. So I told Christian I want to teach him that. So we've been watching little videos of, like, where it teaches you words and stuff like that, and I actually want to continue that to
It's gonna be a
see.
lot of work. I think it'll be fun to just give it a shot.
Yeah,
But I mean, why not? You know.
yeah.
And I
So.
think it's if someone's gonna do it, it's gotta be now, like when they're young,
Mhm.
just so because their brains are like sponges. You know, they're gonna absorb all that. And why not? That's gonna be super complicated, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll
We'll see
see
what
how it
happens.
goes, but I think it'll be good. So
Okay.
yeah, another
So
um
that's that with how we teach our kids how to speak both English and Spanish. That's what has worked in our household and is working so far, and that's how we're gonna keep on doing it. Um, just so they don't lose it. We're always gonna speak Spanish at home,
mhm.
because as they get older, they do lose it sometimes because it kind of is not being used as much at the house or things like that. Um, but
And
yeah.
sorry to cut you, but it's actually funny too, cause, like, my little sisters come over, or, like, my little nephews and nieces, and then they want to change like the language to English, and I don't let them. I'm like, nope, you have to leave it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, come on. I'm like, don't change it. So I have them watching like Spanish too. It's funny.
Yeah,
But
so that's how
so yeah,
we
that's
do
pretty
that.
much how it is. Trust me, if you want to do it, like you could do it. You really just have to like
Set boundaries.
yeah.
Or
Well,
yeah.
not but like stand your ground. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you say I'm gonna do this, like stand your ground and do it. And that's how me and Christian are. Thank God we're both the same. Because when we say like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, like we set our ground and we're like, we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it, and we do it.
Because I feel like if one person's or they're not, or we're not on the same page, it's gonna confuse the child, and it's not gonna work. You know.
Yeah. So
So yeah,
yeah, that's pretty much
that's pretty
how.
much how we do things in our house with the whole English and Spanish speaking.
Yeah.
So I think the next little topic
Oh
would.
wait,
Oh,
sorry. Before we move on, actually, another thing is like that I always say is very, very important when teaching your kids Spanish is don't let them like for example, um, don't let them continue saying the word wrong. I see this all the time, all the time. Like for example, when Camila, what was something that she would always say? Like wrong in
I don't know,
Spanish.
but it was like a Spanglish, like it was
Yeah,
mixed
well,
with
she would
English and
say
Spanish,
something like
like yeah, I forgot what
what
it was,
I'm
but
just saying, like
occasionally
for
she has done
example,
it.
like yo no sabo, right? Like they say, oh, yo no sabo or something. Like don't let them continue saying that. Don't let them continue saying the wrong
Mm-hmm.
way, the wrong sentence. You need to correct them. Like no es yo no sabo, es yo no sé or no sé. You know, and that's one thing that I do with Camila all the time. Like before, even now, when sometimes she says things wrong or mispronounces things, I correct her right there and then. So she could know and then she could start saying the right term. And I feel that is very, very important. Like
Mm-hmm.
you cannot allow your kids to continue saying it wrong because then they think that's the right thing. Like they think that's the right term or the right way to say it. When in reality it's not, and they're gonna grow up or like, keep going about it like that's the correct term and it's not. So that I feel like that's very, very important to correct them whenever they're not pronouncing something right, and correct them at right there and there. Trust me, that's like a game
Mm-hmm.
changer right there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's not that hard. Besides just
Just sticking
really
to it. That's it.
sticking to it
And both
and
being on the same page.
yeah, standing your ground. Even if it's you're single mom, single dad, whatever. Trust me,
Mm-hmm.
stand your ground and it's gonna be a piece of cake.
Mm-hmm.
And
Just like that.
yep. So moving on
Moving on to the next
to
topic.
the
So I
next
think
topic.
this one's a good one because, obviously people say like, hey, so how do you punish your kids, or what is their punishments, or do they get grounded? Because I know a lot of people do things very different. But I think, well, you want to start with this one? I think this one's good. But yeah. So punishment. What is the punishment we give our kids? How do we go about it? And why? Pretty much.
So to be honest, in regards to punishment, there really hasn't been like a big punishment or like to where they've done something like super horrible. But if we do say like if you don't do this or if you don't listen or whatever the case may be, you're not gonna be able to like for example, like Camila loves going to her Nino's house and to visit like her grandparents and stuff like that and visiting my parents, like my dad. So I'll tell her like, okay, if you don't do this or if you don't listen, whatever, you're not gonna go to like your Nino's house or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if she doesn't listen and she doesn't I do not allow her to go. Like I don't care if she cries, I don't care if she says I'm sorry, I don't care if her Ninos call me and tell me to let her. Like no, I don't care. If I say no, it's no. We stand our ground on that as well because then I feel like if we don't, they won't take us serious,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I know like I feel like I could judge sometimes because I'm like really hard on them. as in, not, I'm not hard on them because I don't love them or anything. I'm hard on them because I love them, and because I want them to be, the best version of themselves. Like, I don't want them to be like rude, or just to like not listen to me. Like, if I tell them something, I want them to, I don't want to say obey, because I am not like their master or anything, but if I say something, like, I want them to listen. And another thing is, like, if I punish them, it I after I punish them, we have a talk,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's very, very important. So I always tell her, like, mommy, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I had to do that. I didn't want to do it, but do you know the reason why I did it, or why that happened? Yes, mommy. And then I ask her, like, why? Why did that happen? Like, why did we have to get here? And then she'll tell me, like, oh, because I didn't listen. You told me more than 5 times, or I already know I shouldn't do that, things like that. So she's aware that it's not just for no reason that I'm punishing her, you know? So I really think that's very, very important. And I always, because who wants to punish their kid, nobody wants to punish their kid. Like, I hate having to say no to her.
Mm-hmm.
And because why? Because I just want her to be happy. Like, I want, for her to be happy. But I know that if I allow her to, break those boundaries that I have gave her and stuff like that, then she's just gonna grow up thinking that she can do whatever she want, and and it doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how my parents were with me. My parents were, they were strict, but they weren't like extremely strict. But especially my dad. My dad used to always talk to us, and he was very communicative with us. So I feel that's why too. That's like a big part of me. Um, but yeah, but I'm usually the one that punishes her, and even Mateo. He is 2 years old, but trust me, he does not. He can't get away with nothing. Like, for
Yeah, that little
example,
boy is
right
something
now
else.
he's at the stage where he's like fighting with Camila. And Camila just wants to love him. Camila just wants to play with him and love on him, and he's just like, no, no, like, and he like starts hitting her. He doesn't like hit her a lot, but he will, like,
Cause he likes to,
slap
cause I
her.
think just him as a boy. Sorry to cut you off, but him as a boy,
Mm-hmm.
he just likes to be rougher. He's a little bit more rough, and that's how he wants to do things. Like he wants to
Yeah,
play fight with her, or like, and sometimes she doesn't want to play fight, and he's like, or like sometimes he does get angry at her for, I don't know, she has a specific toy that he wants or things like that. But like she said, we also tell Mateo, like, Mateo, you know what? No, that is not okay. Not just because Camila's the bigger sister, we only tell her. No, we tell Mateo too, like, Mateo, look, no, Camila had this first, so let her play with it,
yeah,
or like wait your turn, and then he'll get mad, and we'll let him do his thing. Like, no, all right, you're gonna get mad, but we're letting you know, like, this is why this is happening. And because sometimes people think, oh, he's too little, or like, no, you gotta let them know. Like,
trust me.
you gotta let them
They
know.
might
They
be
know.
little, but they
They
know.
know.
Even since they're babies, they know. Like, just how, like, when you're carrying them all the time, and then they just want to be carried. Why? Because they know that if they cry, you're gonna carry them.
Hmm.
They're smart. They're smart since the day they're born.
Literally,
So don't underestimate them, little
little
kids, little
kids.
babies, little demons. No, I'm just kidding. They're not demons. They're little angels on earth. But yeah, so even with Mateo, I'm the exact same way. I don't allow him to get away with anything, and you can call it what you want, but to me, I feel like I'm doing my job. I want them to grow up having manners. I want them to grow up being respectful to each other, to other people, and simply just being a good person. And I feel like that's what you have to do. You really have to stay your ground. And yeah, like I said, I'm usually the one to like punish them. And even another thing too, when it comes to punishments, that I think it's very important is, for example, like, if the kid, like Camila, sometimes she wants to kind of talk back to Christian and stuff like that, and I step in like, hey, you don't talk like that to your dad. You better apologize. And I feel like that's very important also. And for example, like, if Christian says something like, Camila's in trouble because of this, she can't do that, then I'm like, okay, we're on the same page. Like, I know that she's in trouble. She can't do that. So I'm not gonna be like, oh, like covering up for her or anything like that. Like that, we don't do that.
I think it has to be, yeah. So, for example, just an example, like say, one of the kids comes up to me and says, "Dad, can I have this candy right here or something?" And then I'm like, "No, you cannot have that right now." And say she's like, or they run to mom and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna ask mom to see if she has to be on the same page as me, because if I say no and then she goes there and then she says yes, I just feel like that's not good. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So like we both have to be on the same page, but obviously it has to be reasonable. But it's like, oh no, you can't have candy or not because you haven't ate or you're gonna spoil your dinner, and then she's on the same page and vice
Yeah.
versa. I think that's very important because sometimes someone gives in, is like, no, 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 you can have your candy, but it's like, but like she just try to set a ground rule or whatever, and then now it's like, oh, now I know that to get away with things, I'm going over here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like I
So I just
said,
feel
they're
like,
smart.
yeah. So I just feel like overall, it should be like, no, this is how it is. You shouldn't be doing this at the or whatever, and yeah, I think that's very, very important to being on the same page.
Yep.
But yeah, I think
Exactly.
that's
And not just, I feel sometimes too, like being on the same page with your partner and your family, like,
oh, and your family too.
setting those boundaries as well.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we could move into the next topic. You
No, I
wanna?
think I still want to continue on
Oh,
punishment.
okay. Go
Just
ahead.
not, no, it's just gonna be quick. But like for our kids, like we don't punish them to the sense where like, all right, you're gonna be grounded and you're gonna be in your room and blah blah blah. Like no, we tell them things like how Jen said, when, like after, like say they do something wrong, and then we're like, all right, you know what? We're not gonna be able to go. You're not gonna be able to hang out with your cousin Emma, or you're not gonna be able to do this. And then, like, say she gets in a funk for whatever reason, we'll explain to them why it is we did what we did, because I think that's very important. And a lot of times, sometimes parents don't cover that. They just get they just get their kid in trouble, and the kid, I mean, they're smart. They know what they did wrong, but I just feel like they're kind of like, oh, I got in trouble again. Like, but it's like, no, this, you got in trouble this time because this, and this, and what can be better if you do this. Because obviously we don't like to get our kids in trouble. We also feel bad. Sometimes we got in the kids in trouble or something, or told them something like, oh no, you know what, you can't do this, and they're like, come on, mommy, come on. And then me and Jen are like in the room like, I feel so bad. But like
Oh,
we can't give in. We can't give in because then they're gonna be like, oh, I know how far I can go with them, or I know I could do this and get away with this. But we'll be like, man, or I'll tell Jen like, man, today I got Camila in trouble because she did this, and I was like, I felt so bad, but. But then after you talk to them, the kids will understand. They'll understand. They'll be, trust me, it's what works for us, and I think it's important to let them know why it is you're doing what they're doing and why it's not okay for them to be doing what they're doing.
yeah.
Talking and getting your point across is very important.
Yep. And then also another thing, like when you punish your kids or you're grounding them and stuff like that. Something that I remember, I don't know where I seen this or what, but whenever like we ground them or they're like punishment, that doesn't mean to stop showing them affection or showing them that you love them and care for them. That doesn't mean that. It's for example, if Camila, she's grounded, like I'm not gonna just ignore her or show her that I don't love her. No, like I'm still gonna give her the love. I'm still gonna love on her and everything. Like everything is gonna be the same. It's just that the punishment was
Yeah, I think
placed or
that's
whatever that may be. But I feel like a lot of people feel that when they're punished, they need to like not love on them and like and I feel like the kid in that scenario probably feels bad because they're like probably thinking like, oh, my mom's ignoring me, she doesn't love me or something like that. So that's one thing that we don't do. Like even though they're in trouble or whatever, like we never like not love on them. Like
Yep.
if that makes sense, what I'm trying to say. But
No, I
anyways,
completely understand.
but
All
yeah.
right. So
So
that's on that topic on punishment. So the next topic, I think this one is also very important because, in this day and age or whatever you want to call it, obviously there's a lot of screen time, play time. I mean, screen time. tablets, iPads, all that good stuff. Um, but remember, this is our how we do things in our household. It might be different in your household, and it might work for you
And that's
because that's
okay.
how you do your thing. But we're just talking about how we do things in our house. All right, so we're gonna be talking about screen time and playtime and how we balance that and things like that. So I'll start on this one. So screen time. Camila does have a tablet, but it is strictly for homework because the school that she goes to, she does get assigned homework on her tablet through like an app. So that's the only time she's able to grab the tablet when she's doing homework. She is not allowed to grab the tablet to watch videos and do this and do that and play games. None of that. Just because that's how we want to do things, and I think that's how we like to do things. But yeah. So the tablet is only used for homework, and that is it. Now, when it comes to screen time in the sense of television, we do let her watch TV. She had, but we're very specific on what she's able to watch. She does watch YouTube things. I mean, YouTube videos and stuff like that. But a lot of the stuff that she watches, well, all the stuff that she watches has to be educational in one way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be like A, B, C. No, like she watches this. There's a YouTuber that she likes to watch that because she's very into animals and reptiles and snakes and she loves animals. So there's this YouTuber that has his I think he's like lives in Florida or something, but he raises like he has his own like big snakes and reptiles and crazy animals at his house and he talks about them and explains more about like where like just about the animal, everything, color, where it's from, things like that. And we let her watch things like that because, obviously she's learning from it and she loves animals. So I think it's cool like that. But yeah, in our house, if they do watch TV, it has to be educational. Or we could be watching a movie altogether that's not necessarily educational in the sense of like teaching you something, but it's like a movie, like a fun movie, a cool movie, whatever. But yeah, other than that, we she does have a lot of playtime in our house. We have a room literally just like their toy room, and we like to have them do a lot of hands-on stuff like painting or like building stuff or literally something that Camila loves to do. She likes to go in the backyard and literally search for
Mm.
insects. And we love that
We
about her.
love it.
We love
Ooh.
that she loves that. Literally, she'll have like roly polies over here. Oh, I found a caterpillar. I found some worms. And she has little like containers of things. But we love that because I feel like nowadays all that stuff is dying out. Like back in the day, people used to still go outside and play and look for bugs and jump off trees and jump in puddles, and I just feel like that stuff is dying out, and I feel like it's important to still involve that in their life because it's nothing's more beautiful than having them outside and playing and with nature and things like that. So yeah, so screen time, yeah, she does watch TV and stuff. Whenever we're inside, maybe Jen might be
Yeah.
cooking, I might be selling merch on TikTok or doing things or busy, and we'll give her some screen time and she'll be watching some like educational stuff on animals or insects and things like that. And Mateo will sometimes be right there, right beside her, or Mateo will be playing with toys while Camila's watching.
Yeah. It's actually funny because sometimes, so when with their screen time, I usually give them like an hour, 2 hours a day, 3 hours at max during the weekend, which is like a lot. It's pushing it. But it's actually funny because sometimes they go days without watching TV.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, we won't turn on the TV for days, which is actually funny to me and crazy
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, damn, we haven't even like turned on the TV in like I don't know how many days. But yeah, when it comes to tablets and phones, also that's one thing that we agreed on for them not to have it. And if that works for you, that is fine. We're not judging nobody. This is what we want for our kids and what works for us. But and our family knows that already as well. Like they know that we don't allow them to be on the phones, when, especially not when we're out. Like that's a big no. And I feel like sometimes a lot of questions that we get is how are they so good when we go out? And on to be honest, I feel that is the main reason why whenever we go out, we don't struggle with them because they're not used to being like on the phone or the tablet, you know? So they're used to like being out. They're used to like, paying attention to their surroundings, paying attention to the people, like stuff like that. To where, if they were on the phone and then we're out and then I take the phone from them, then they're not gonna be, they're gonna be crying because they want it. And that's what I told my husband, like, well, that's what I told Christian, like, I just don't wanna be that person that like if I get a call and then like my kid is crying because I can't take the call because he's on the phone, I just don't want to do that. I don't want to deal with that. I get embarrassed very easy. And when I was younger, like I used to watch my nieces and nephews, and sometimes like I would take them to the store and they would throw tantrums and I would be so embarrassed. So I would say, when I have my kids, I'm gonna do whatever's in my hands, for that not to happen, which obviously they're kids and it's might happen and it's probably gonna happen. Um, but if I can do things to avoid that, then I'm gonna do it. And I feel like, and I'm just speaking because this is what I have seen, that, when you give your kid like the phone and the tablet, most of the time they're crying, like when you're out or anywhere because they want it. And that's okay. If you like to deal with that, then that's totally fine. But I don't. So, and besides the fact, I think the bigger picture factor is that we still want our kids to use their brain. We want them to use their imagination, to be creative, not just be stuck on the TV or on the phone all the time. So I think, it's more than just that, but I really love seeing my kids playing with like outside and like he said, Camila looking for her like the like her face when she finds a new insect, even though like all that grosses me out, but if that's what she loves, I try and be supportive. I buy her little magnifying glass and her little containers for her insect. I just tell her, I'm like, one thing, just don't bring them in the house. Like, just keep them outside in your containers. I'm like, but they're not allowed in the house. She
Mm-hmm.
already knows that. I'm like, cause like me, I'm very like about like stuff like that. And then I'm always telling her like, just be careful you don't grab spiders and don't touch them with your hands. So she has like little tweezers
Cause
and
she's very brave when it comes to
yeah,
that kind of stuff, and she's yeah,
and she
she's
loves it. I remember when me and my brother were young, like my brother used to love getting roly polies, and I'd be like, oh, they're so gross. And
Camila
Camila's
loves roly
obsessed with roly
polies. Oh
polies.
my
She's always like,
god.
oh, roly poly, can I get it? Can I get anywhere we go? If she sees a roly, I'm like, no, no, no.
Literally, if we're out and about and there's like plants and there's a roly poly or a bug, can I get the roly poly? I could put in this container. And I'm like, no, just let him be, let him live, let him do his
Yeah,
thing.
it's
Like,
funny.
okay, that's
Um,
Camila right there for
but
you.
yeah, so like Christian mentioned, she has her tablet as well, and she uses it strictly for her homework. And it's actually funny because I did download like some learning games, where she like traces the numbers and stuff like that. And because they see other kids and sometimes they're tempted, and it is like the funniest thing to me because like now she never ever asks for her to play with her tablet, never. Or but before, I want to say like 2 years back, like when she kind of first got her tablet, she'd be like, mommy, can I play with the tablet? And then I would tell her like, okay, but just 20 minutes and that's it. And you have to play only the games that I downloaded, which was learning games. And she was like, she literally would only use it for like 2 3 minutes and she would drop it. Like she was just because she
She
was so
wasn't.
used to
Mm-hmm.
like not using it and she rather play and stuff. So now I'm so glad like that she doesn't even ask for it, like nothing. And obviously, when you're a parent, you wanna really stick to your like, to your rules or whatever. So, but then at the same time, I felt like, ugh, am I really being like too much? Especially like people tell you like, oh my God, you're being too much. Like, it's just a phone or stuff like that. And you kind of like doubt yourself. But then now I'm like, no, I'm so glad. Like, I see my kids and I'm like, dude, I'm so glad that we decided on
Mm-hmm.
that we decided, for them not to, be on the phones and the tablet all the time, um, and stuff like that. Pero yeah, even our family, like they already know like that she's not allowed. Like I've told them like don't no she's not allowed, and sometimes like I would like before not it doesn't happen anymore because they already know. But like they would hand her the phone or stuff like that. I'm like nope, put that away. And even her little cousins already know that she's not allowed and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like nope, I'm sorry, but no, like I don't want to be rude, but she's not allowed to. And they respect that, and I'm glad they respect that because I feel like a lot of people don't respect that. Like when you tell them, "Oh, I want this for my kid," like they won't respect it. But luckily enough,
Stand your ground, you guys.
yeah,
Don't be afraid to stand your ground. Because a lot of people sometimes they just kind of like, well, or like it is what it is. But no, stand your ground as a parent.
yeah. And then like for we like to take them like to Disneyland. We like to take them to the movies, to the park. Different things like that. We like to take them out for them to explore, have fun, rather than just being at home and being stuck to the TV or to the phone and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I understand for a lot of moms that's their only way to get things done around the house, but we make it work and we find a way to entertain them. And I that's like a big question that we get all the
Mm-hmm.
time, that pretty much everything we're gonna cover today is a lot of stuff that we always get asked. We always get asked
Mm-hmm.
about this. So we were like, okay, let's talk about that. It's actually really good
Mm-hmm.
to talk about that.
But yeah, I think that covers that topic, which is screen time and playtime. So the next topic we wanted to talk about that people always do ask us is um if our kids are picky eaters. So I think this is a very important topic because there's a lot of kids that are picky eaters or like they only eat specific things and they don't want to eat this or it's kind of hard to get them to eat specific foods and things like that. So we're gonna talk about that because our kids are great eaters. They eat everything, literally everything we eat, everything. You
Sorry,
right?
babe. Yeah.
Yeah, literally, they eat everything. Everything Jen cooks, they eat. But I think that all comes down to as well. In our house, we don't cook different things for the kids. In when what I'm trying to say by that is like what Jen cooks is what we're all gonna eat as a family. It's not like Jen's gonna make some shrimp and then for the kids make them chicken tenders. Like no, mommy made shrimp pasta
Mhm.
and we're all gonna eat shrimp pasta because that's what's on the menu today.
Mhm.
Because I know sometimes they like parents give kids a lot of options, but I don't think I mean everyone does their own thing, right? But I don't think that's right because then they're always gonna want something in particular. But I think it should be like, no, this is what's on the menu today, and this is what we're eating, and I think that's what we should all eat. And I think that's how we raise them to like kind of like everything because Jen will cook a bunch of different stuff when it comes to seafood, chicken and rice and salads of this and a lot of different things, and the kids love it. Well,
Yes.
not love, but I mean
I
they
mean,
eat
yeah.
majority of the stuff that Jen cooks and
Yeah.
that we eat out like they eat.
Or
I don't think
sometimes just
they've
by
ever really
looking at
complained.
it, they're like, oh, I don't like that. Like I know Camila has now she's a little older, so sometimes she's like, ¿Qué es eso? A mí no me gusta. And then I'll be
What,
like, do you even know what it is? She's like, no. And I'm like, then how are you
that was
saying?
one thing we did tell them. I remember Camila specifically. I told her cuz obviously as a kid you're like, oh, like how Jen said you don't find something looking like so appetizing, but I told her, "Look, mommy, you don't know if you don't try it." That was a big thing I would always tell her. And I remember now, like she'll try to use that on me, but I purposely mess with her. Like I'm like, oh, I don't want to try that. She's like, Papi, try. Like if she has like a candy or like something, she's like, Papi, try. I'm like, no, I'm okay. She's like, Papi, you don't know if you don't try it. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you're gonna like it if you don't try it. And I think that's super important.
Yeah.
Let them try everything. everything. Literally, we even let them try spicy stuff sometimes just
Yeah.
to like get so they kind of see a little bit of
Well,
everything.
everything except soda.
Everything except soda. Yeah, we don't give them soda.
And then they were like, "Quiero try." I'm like, "No, no
Yeah,
sabe
we don't.
bueno."
Yeah, we don't give them soda at all.
And we don't ever really drink soda. It's so rare
Yeah, we
for
don't.
us
We
to
try
drink
not to have
soda
soda in the
too.
house. We're not perfect. We are not perfect because I feel like sometimes people may be like, "Oh, they only eat healthy or they only have." We try to eat healthy, but don't get it wrong. If we want some In and Out, we'll go
Yeah,
get some
we'll
In and
go
Out.
get it.
Want some Chick-fil-A, we'll get some Chick-fil-A. Like we don't like.
It's balance.
We try to
Balance.
balance.
Remember, it's
You
about
want some
balance.
pizza? Let's go get some pizza. But we do try keyword to at our household. Like we try to eat pretty good. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And we try to teach the kids that too. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, but they eat everything too, you know.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, that's one thing. Like, um, I took more like sometimes Camila tries to be like, oh, yo no quiero eso, yo quiero esto. I'm like, no. I'm like, this is what there is, and if you wanna eat good, and if you don't, then too bad. Like, don't eat. And then she'll be like, fine. And then she's like, eats it. And then she's like, oh, mami, estaba bien bueno. Me gustó mucho.
that's so funny.
And then I'm like, you see, you can't say you don't like something if you haven't tried it. Like, you need to at least try it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's has been some stuff that she has tried and she like didn't really like. But I still cook what I cook, and if and they have, well, I'm not gonna say they have to eat it, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna cook something else for them. The only time I will cook something else for them
It's spicy.
is it's like if it's really spicy, then I'll do the exact same thing. I
With no
just
spice.
won't add chile to it. But I feel like Camila kind of is really
She deals with
like,
pretty good with it.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
with the spiciness, but I try not to give her too much spice, because she's little
And she's gonna
still.
get
But
spicy.
that's like the only time. But I don't like serve them anything else. I just do the exact same thing on a different pot, but I just don't add like the chile.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, they eat everything, literally from salmon to camaron,
Shrimp
to
cocktails to
literally everything.
ceviche to ramen, like actual ramen from like a Japanese. They eat sushi. They
Sushi,
love
everything.
sushi.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do eat
And
everything.
you know what? I'm so glad that I did that, because I'm not gonna lie, I was a picky eater when I was little. Like,
Well, even when I met her,
yeah, I was
when I would take
picky.
her out to eat different things like sushi
I was
and like
kind of the
ramen, she was kind of skeptical at
I
first,
was kind
like
of the
unsure.
same. Like, oh, I don't like that, just by looking at
And
it
now
or like
she's the
smelling
one
it.
that let's go here or take me here to like foods that I introduced her to.
Yeah. Or
And
let's
yeah,
try this, let's try that. Now I'm more open to it. But
you don't
prior,
know if you don't try.
yeah, prior to like meeting Christian, I was a very picky eater as well. Like, I didn't eat onion, tomatoes, like avocado, none of that. Like, I was like, But then, I got to my phase where I'm like, no, I need, these are like nutrients, important foods. Like, so, I tried, little by little eating them and stuff like that. And now, like, I literally don't cook like without any like, I'm always cooking veggies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But and the kids like love veggies. Like, Camila loves Brussels sprouts and broccoli and salad and and everything. And Mateo eats everything.
Mateo, that old
Yeah,
man,
he eats
I
everything.
don't know where all that food fits, but geez, that boy can eat a nice,
Yes.
decent sized plate.
Yeah,
Like
he
I'm
eats
not
more than
even.
Camila most of the time.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
sir.
It
that,
makes me so happy, honestly. Like, as I think one thing as a parent that makes me like the happiest is watching my kids eat.
dude, and you
Like,
know what's
just watching them
crazy?
eat all their food and enjoying it. And then I love when they're like, gracias, mami, por la comida. Like, me
Or when no,
gustó.
you know what's
Or
the
like,
best when they get that first scoop of food, cause
oh,
we're very like we all eat at the table together. That's one of the things we always do. We eat dinner together as a family. But I just love that first scoop they do, cause Mateo and Camila, their reactions are so funny. They'll
yeah.
take a scoop and Mateo will be eating. He's like, mm, mm,
Yeah, like
mm.
it. Yeah.
And Camila will be like,
Yeah.
bomb.com.
And then
So
when my dog really loves something, he'll be eating and he'll be like, mm, mm. But like throughout the whole
oh
time
yeah,
he's eating, he's just like,
just to himself like,
mm,
mm.
mm.
He's so funny, dude.
And when he does that, oh, my heart melts. It's just like the cutest thing ever.
Yeah. So I think that covers that. The picky
Yeah.
eaters, yeah, they're not picky at all. We let them try everything at least once. Well, not just once, multiple times. Because sometimes you could try something one time and you don't like it the first time, and you have to try it a second time. Sometimes.
Yeah.
But
That's kind of how I was with ramen. Remember, I
the
tried it the
ramen, the
first time and I
Japanese
was
ramen
like,
that we would go. Yeah, there's this ramen spot that I took her to one time, and she was not a big fan at first. And then now, if it's like you just see a little cloud in the sky, she's like, "Let's get some ramen.
yeah.
Let's get some ramen." Literally. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, though. But yeah, that's how we did it with our kids, and that's what worked. And yeah, they eat literally everything. All right, next topic. Um, how do I say it? God,
Mhm.
God in our household. God teaching our kids about God. Um, yeah. So you want to start with that topic?
Okay. Yeah, so it's actually really funny to me because so Christian grew up and he grew up like really Catholic, right? His parents and his whole family like they're really Catholic and they're like all married by church and everything. And then like my family, like yes, we're Catholic, but we're those Catholic that go to church whenever there's like an event, a wedding or a quinceañera. And like my parents obviously always, said, there's a God and stuff like that. We're Catholic, the Virgin Mary and stuff. So we're like, okay, but we never really were raised to like be going to church every Sunday and like, pretty much like deep into our faith, no. So I actually there was a point in my life where like I didn't believe in God. I was just like, God is not real, like whatever. Like whenever I needed him, I asked him for something like he didn't come through, so there's no God. Like there was a point in my life where I was kind of like, nope, there's no God, like, whatever. But then I met Christian and he kind of, changed that perspective in me because he would tell me like, you can't just look for God when you need something. Like you always have to like pray for to him and talk to him and stuff like that. And he would always tell me. And then like when I was pregnant with Camila, well before that, like I would tell him like, the doctor told me I might not be able to have kids and stuff like that. That could be for another topic, but he would be like, no one could tell you nothing besides God. And I would just kind of be like, kind of like, okay, sure, whatever. Like whenever because he would bring up God a lot, like, and I would just kind of be like, okay, Like I know there was like a higher power. I just didn't really know, like I just didn't know what to believe. You just go through stuff and you're just like doubtful or whatever. But anyways, when I was pregnant with Camila, I was really scared and I just wanted everything to be good and then I just started talking to God every day and ever since they honestly like ever since I had Camila, like I can say like I'm a big believer in God. I talk to God every single day. I thank him every single day. We pray for him every single day. So now that we have our kids, like it's really important for us to teach them, about God that, especially like from my perspective, my opinion, like, don't just look for God whenever you need a favor. Like, talk to him always and, and he's going to be there for you when you feel lonely or whatever. So, Camila, she is like I tell Christian, it melts my heart. Like sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, this little girl, how is she like so smart? Besides the fact we have her in private school, Catholic school, so she learns a lot there, but like the way she talks about God is just like, so sometimes like she tells me she talks to God and like I'm just like, oh my God, like this is so nice. But yeah, that's a big thing for us as well, just teaching our kids about God and I feel like if you believe in God, everything God has blessed us with so much and we're super thankful for him and yeah, pretty much teaching our kids, to believe in God and to praise him. Um it's the beautifulest thing. Like right now we're teaching Mateo.
Oh my God,
We're
that little
teaching
boy.
Mateo how to pray, and it's the cutest thing
It's
ever.
funny though. We had to take the chamuca out of him
Yeah.
because that little boy. All right, so look. Well, we'll talk about that right now, but let me go ahead and talk about that too. So yeah, we've ever since our kids were very little. Well, Camila, we've always told her like through God everything's possible. Pray to God, ask Him.
Mhm.
Talk to Him. And Camila, oh my God, it's crazy to say like obviously we have her in a Catholic school and things like that. Look, I'm not saying religion because religion and God is two different things. I was raised Catholic, but I'm not saying Catholic is the right way. Catholic, because I know people are gonna be like, "Oh no, but Christianity, that this, that is the right way." That look, we believe in God, and I think that's what matters. So, but yeah, but it's so funny. Yeah, we have Camila in Catholic school, and her faith with God is so strong, and it's so crazy to me because she gets like you can just tell like she gets in her like she has God in her heart,
Mhm.
and um yeah, when she prays to God, it's beautiful. And she tells us sometimes like, "Oh, papi, like I was talking to God, or I asked God this, or I prayed to God for this, or I remember one time in specifically that I thought was super cute. I think my dad was sick
Huh.
or something like that. My dad was sick, and then Camila wasn't saying much about it or nothing, but one day she just told me, and she was like, "Oh, puppy, like I asked God to help Grandpa so he's not sick no more or something like that, huh?" Just things like that because I don't know, that
Cause
just
she
melts in
was
my heart.
sad, so
She
she
was
was saying
sad, so
that.
she went and asked God, like, "Oh, take care of my grandpa and make sure he's good." And I thought that was so
Yeah, that
beautiful.
was.
But I just think anything we do through God is it's possible. It's definitely something um that we how do I say it? We God is very much present in our household. And yeah, we pray to God as a family, and I think a family that prays together stays together. So yeah, an example like before we eat, you know, when we have dinner as a family, we make sure we you know, pray for our meal. We tell Camila is usually the one that prays for our meal. But Mateo, this is where we're going to with Mateo.
Oh yeah.
So before, we would sit down and then, all right, we can't eat yet until Camila prays for, and blesses the food. So Camila would start praying and Mateo would already start eating, right?
Like
Little
no,
little
no.
rebel, little rebel, little crazy boy, right? He'll be eating. He'll be like, I'm like, Mateo, no, we have to wait. He's like, Papi, no, no, no. Like he'll be throwing little fits. Like, no, like I want to eat. Like I'm ready to eat. Like I don't want to wait and pray. I'm hungry. And then we'll be like, Mateo, you have to. So whatever. It'll still be so cute to us because he's just like, he'll be like eating and we're like, all right, Camila, just follow through with the prayer and let's so we can eat. But now it's crazy. Like now we're like, all right, Mateo, we're gonna pray. Okay. He's like, okay, okay. And then he starts getting into his little thing and he starts praying too. And it's so funny
Mhm.
to me because he closes his eyes and he gets into the prayer. Like it's so
Yeah,
funny. Like it's
it's
so
like the
cute,
cutest thing
but it's
ever.
like he'll be like, "Thank you, God," because there's a prayer. We do that prayer in English because Camila learned it in school. But he's like, "Thank you, God." He will like start repeating after us for the food we're about to eat. But the way he says it is the cutest thing, and he closes his eyes, and yeah, it's just
And then now he's the one that says like,
like, oh, we gotta
no,
pray.
pray, papi, pray. And then and then we'll be eating, right? We're like halfway through our meal. He's like, papi, pray otra vez, and he makes us like pray again.
Dude, he's so funny. But yeah, I think that's one of the things we do include a lot in our household is God. Um, but yeah, that's how we do things. Remember, everyone does things differently, and that's just how we do things here. So God first before anything. But yeah, that's the topic on that, and I think we're gonna close out with the last topic that I think is very important. Um, Manners and like being polite. So how do we teach our kids like having manners and just being polite in general? We're gonna close out with this topic. So I think, go ahead, babe. I think you should
Yeah,
go.
so pretty much, every time, like we give them something or they give us something, we always remind them, you need to say please and thank you, excuse me. You know, if you see that somebody is talking or mommy's talking, you need to wait. Sorry. I mean, you need to wait until mommy's done talking, unless it's like very, very important and it can't wait. You know, excuse me, mommy. You know, but I feel like having manners and being polite is very important. I feel like nowadays nobody has manners. Nobody's polite. Like everybody's just rude and angry at the world. So that's very important for us and our kids. Mateo too. Like Mateo, I give him, Mami, me das esto, por favor. Mami, can you give me this, please? Mami, thank you, gracias. Or like, they're always telling us like, thank you, gracias, mande, and I feel that's very, very important. We were raised, with manners and to be polite, especially to the elderly, people who are older than us and stuff like that. It's a big thing, like in our culture, to have respect, manners, um, and yeah, that's and again, it's just like keep reminding your kids, like say please and thank you, say bye, hi, obviously we like it depends in the situation as well. If my kid doesn't feel comfortable, or my kid or I see something, I'm not gonna force my kid either. But just we always teach them to teach everybody with respect. Doesn't matter how they look, um, who they are, but you could keep a distance and still be well mannered. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the biggest moment, or like where you're like, oh man, I'm proud of my kid, is like when you're not around and then they tell you like, oh man, he's really well behaved, really well mannered. I think that's like the biggest reward
Mm-hmm.
there
That's
is.
beautiful. That's awesome.
Not que they're all well behaved with you and then they go somewhere and then they're freaking like,
Super bad.
super bad and horrible
In
and
no way, shape, or form are we saying our kids are perfect, but yeah. And I think also, babe, how you mentioned, like every time they like tell us something, or mommy, can you give me this? We're always like, cause they could be. There's times also, kids are kids, and they'll ask for something like, mommy, bring me water, or can you give me this? And sometimes they might forget, or but we're like, please, mommy, can you bring me water, please? Like, and I think it's important to correct it then and there, because then it becomes a habit of they'll start losing it and losing it.
mhm.
So you have to just daily reminders, always remind them, never let it slip up. But yeah, we always remind them, please, thank you. Like for example, Camila, every time she asks for something, or if we call her, no, like for example in Spanish when we call her, and like when they respond, they say, ella dice mande. Like we'll be like Camila, she'll be like mande. That's like just a polite way of saying like yes, like yeah. Um, but and Mateo, we're still working so hard with him. Oh my God, that little boy will be like Mateo. He'll be like que, and que means just like what, and we're like no, you're supposed to say mande. So it'll be like Mateo, que. We'll be like no, mande. He's like mande, and then we'll be
Mhm.
like Mateo, que. And we'll be like no, di mande. And then we'll be like Mateo, que. We're like, no, Mateo, man. So we've been working with this kid to try to get it right. But yeah, it's a work in progress. But I think most important is that as long as you're trying and implementing that, it's what matters. But
Again, it's being consistent, don't give up. Like if you don't just be like, oh
don't lose hope.
my kid is not gonna get it, like, oh well, whatever, it is what it is. Like no, keep trying. If you really want, this is what I say, this is my motto. Like if you really, really wanna do something and you really want something for your kids, you're gonna do it.
hmm
If you don't really want it that bad, you're just gonna be like, whatever. It is what it is. No.
And it's because I think it seems like a lot of these things seem like little tedious things that don't need a lot of work, but a lot of these little tedious things are the ones that need the most work and time and dedication.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like if they don't pick it up quick, like you just gotta keep on, to
Yeah.
get it right.
Like Marto, he's about to be 3, and like now barely like this
Mm-hmm.
week he started, because before we would tell him no se dice mande, and he'll be like no, no, que, and barely this week he started kind of saying like When we
Monday.
correct him, he'll be like Monday. And
Hmm.
then I'm like, oh wow, we're getting somewhere. After
So
two
long.
years, you see, 2 years, we're
But
getting
we
somewhere.
always correct him.
But we haven't
Always.
given up. So really, that's what it is. If you really
Hmm.
want something, everything we talked about today, if you really want to work on something, just do it. Like, keep trying, keep going, like correct them,
And remember,
you
just
know.
because this kid learned a little quicker doesn't mean they're not gonna learn at all. It's like, oh, maybe this person got it a little faster than this person, so don't expect this person to get it as fast as that person. Like everyone kind of learns. They have different milestone learning, I guess you can say. Is that the right word?
Yeah,
But yeah, I think just take your time with your kids, and I think you can get there definitely.
you'll get
So
there someday or another.
it's one day, one
One
way,
way.
shape, or form. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that concludes this episode number 5, which was topic is gonna be what parenting strategies. But yeah, if you guys like this episode, make sure you guys throw a thumbs up on this video. We are streaming on Spotify, Amazon Music, and a lot of other streaming platforms that play
Not me yelling over
podcasts.
here.
Um, so you can check us out on there. Don't forget to turn on your post notifications. What is post notifications? If you go to our profile on YouTube, there's a little bell. Turn that on so whenever we do post a new episode, you get notified. And remember, drop comments down below of any questions you may have. If you're curious about something, if you want us to cover a certain topic on an episode, drop it down below because we are looking at them and we probably will include it in one of our future episodes. But yeah, remember every Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are dropping new episodes. So we've been doing so good so far. I mean, we've been doing pretty good so far, and we've been getting really good feedback on these episodes, and we're here to stay. So,
Thank you guys so much for tuning in
and don't forget to
to Love
love
a
a little.
Little.
Peace out.
Bye.